hydration.
Ah, yes, hydration is key. All right,
I gotta.
here we go with another. Sorry, I didn't say we were gonna start there, but hi, Dave. How's it going?
Good. Hello, everyone. Welcome aboard. Uh,
When I
Everyone
literally
alive
said
from
it was
their sip
starting
rep.
5 seconds, you just jump in and be like, hydration.
Hydration, man, is important.
It
I got a
is
sippy
key.
cup lid on my hydro flask, and it's like revolutionary.
Well,
It's like back to when I was a
there's
kid.
your intro to Dave, guys. He is back at the show. Welcome back, by the way, and welcome back to another episode of Panther, Soft Folding Table Talk. This is episode 42. We're not going to dive into our regular format here. We're just going to dive straight into the topic. And this one coming from none other than our favorite, Mr. Mac, our fitness. Well, I don't know. You just keep telling everybody to.
Enthusiast.
Yeah, enthusiast. You just keep telling us to work on our fitness.
I
All
just want
right.
everyone to be happy and healthy. That is
Take it
all
away,
that
good sir. Take it away.
that's all I'm encouraging everyone to do. But yeah, basically, guys, today we want to talk about basically how fitness and everything works in relation to airsoft and everything. Obviously, airsoft being an outdoor active sport. Um, you know, your overall fitness level, because everyone's level is different and varies, and everyone's body types vary, and everyone's background varies. There's lots of variables in that. So basically, there's a lot of things that can kind of go into it. So we're just going to kind of have a nice brief overview and discussion. And we brought our good friend Dave here. Thank you, Dave, for coming. And
Pleasure.
yeah, and Poy's got a really good history, and as well as Dave's got a great history in just physical fitness and sports and everything like that. And that's where my background comes from. Just for people who don't know, I played a lot of sports growing up, and then I was, really big into high school football and everything. It was a big part of my life, and it really helped build a really strong foundation that I can always fall back on with just my knowledge base and then just my workout routines and stuff. At the moment, I'm just kind of being a nut job, and we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so basically, guys, like, what is fitness and what is working out, right? It's like physical fitness is obviously a state of mental health and well-being, and more specifically, it's the ability to it's the ability to perform aspects of sports, occupations, and daily activities, right? And physical fitness is obviously and generally achieved through proper nutrition, moderate and vigorous physical exercise, and sufficient rest. That is one thing that I will emphasize on. People, you need your rest.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times I get asked a lot. Actually, this one is probably one of the biggest questions that I get asked is how much do I work out or how often do I need to work out? So obviously, how often do you need to work out really depends on you and your lifestyle and what you're trying to achieve, what your goals are. So those are things that we'll go into later as well. But basically, from those questions right there, that's going to determine on what you are trying to achieve with your workout regimen. So if you're trying to go for weight loss, if you're trying to go for increased strength or endurance, if you're trying to look good and become, aesthetically pleasing or something like that, these are all things that you're going to gear your workouts around and everything like that. But most of the time, guys, it's generally you're looking at about 4 to 5 days. You need to be working out to, kind of keep that, or I would say 4 to 5 days to kind of build, and then if you really wanted to cut it back, you could go to about 3 to 4 days to kind of keep and maintain. But honestly, people's lifestyles are different, people's um, body types are different, and yeah, it's going to determine a lot of those kinds of things, right? But basically, moving on from there, guys. We have obviously different types of exercises, and those are going to affect you and impact your performance and or life a lot better and different in different ways. So obviously, you've got your four types. You've got aerobic or cardio or endurance exercises. You've got strength exercises, which is like obviously lifting weights, flexibility, which is for the yoga people, and balance. I don't know why it got its own category, guys, but Tai Chi is a real thing. So people above 50.
Stability.
Exactly, right?
That's
Yeah,
what it's called.
stability
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
balance, exactly. Um, so obviously, aerobic exercises or endurance exercises are increasing your breathing, your heart rate, and the main component of of most overall fitness programs. They keep your circulatory and your lungs healthy. They help stave off diabetes and heart disease, which is a really big
Hmm.
thing because that's really common nowadays. And some of the most common activities that people are doing already that don't realize that they're doing, is an aerobic exercise. Obviously, is like hiking, jogging, climbing upstairs. I know sometimes that's not fun, guys. Playing airsoft, I had to put that already. Playing tennis, badminton, volleyball, just running around, dancing, biking, doing yard work and raking somehow got in there, but apparently it's okay.
Oh, that
And
sucks.
obviously swimming. I know, right? So I was like, oh god, man, like
Chores?
I don't know.
What?
Yeah, what? It's like it's probably because of the stress. But moving on to a different type, obviously, you have your strength exercises. So, these are really important for keeping your bones and your muscles strong, especially if you're trying to grow your muscles in size or anything like that. Strength training is beneficial in reducing falls and helping you do everyday activities that like a lot of people don't realize, like lifting, right? And this was funny because obviously, like I always compete with my brother and my family and stuff like that. Is how many bags of groceries you can take at once, right? So
Oh
that's
my
always
god.
something that I always
That's
joke
that's
around with.
called goals.
Um, exactly, guys. It's like I am taking this in one trip. I'm not coming back.
Who wants to?
But obviously, you guys is like resistance machines at the gym. Obviously, lifting free weights. That's something that I love to do personally.
Hmm.
Resistance bands, and then even just using your own body weight. So simple classic push-ups and doing sit-ups and stuff like that. That's never a bad thing. I actually wake up every morning and do 10 of those right away. That's the first thing I do in the morning. So obviously moving on from like the basic stuff that everyone knows, which is basically cardio or doing runs or something like that, and then lifting weights, everyone knows that stuff is the flexibility. So that one, even though it's not a really popular way of exercising right now, or at least it's kind of changed around because flexibility will get overlooked and people will just think automatically it's yoga. But when we're talking about flexibility, stretching after working out is a really
Hmm.
important thing, and I know it gets overlooked a lot. People are like, "Oh, I don't need it," or "Oh, I feel fine." Like I always make sure to take about 10 to 15 minutes, just kind of like cooling down, stretching, especially after like an intense workout and everything, because the last thing you want to do is be super sore because it's not something that's gonna ever
Yeah.
like if you had a proper workout, you're gonna be sore, and that's a good thing.
Fun fact:
Um,
soreness is usually from your muscle tissue actually retensing up. So,
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. Well, we'll get into like some of those remedies too, right? Because some of the best things that you can do is just jumping
yeah.
into an ice cold bath. Like that is one of the best things that you can do, especially I like Poi will know this. Like after like a super long run and your legs are dead and you just like hit that ice cold water, it's like one of the most refreshing feelings ever. But obviously, right, we've got flexibility exercises in there. I'm not a big yoga guy, so I'm not even going to touch that. But guys, stretching after lifting weights,
Hmm.
running, anything like that, especially even airsoft. I know it sounds dumb, guys, but you're running around, you're getting your body into awkward positions, and this is really where we're going to go into how fitness can kind of correlate with airsoft and everything like that. So the last thing I just wanted to cover too, sorry, is because they have four types, right? Is balance exercises, obviously. So it's practicing balancing, making sure you have your motor skills and
Hmm.
you're able to kind of like control your center of gravity. It's that comes with a lot of core strength as well. So that being like one of the most strong bases of your body in everyday life, your core. Um, so obviously, guys, moving on is how to exercise for airsoft, or how can airsoft be exercise for you? So obviously, airsoft is an endurance-based game, being outside, running around and shooting people, and you have a lot of gear on, most of you. If you're new, you're probably going to get something in the next couple of weeks or something like that, right? It
The
always ends
weight
up
adds
happening.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The weight gradually gets there, and I hope your fitness keeps up with it. This is the whole point of this discussion, guys. So obviously, if you're jogging at the field or anything like that while carrying weight and everything, these are all super beneficial things, and this definitely counts as exercise. So I'm never gonna knock anyone for not being able to run or not doing any of those things, but I really do love seeing effort out there, and I see some people go really, really hard, and honestly, it gets me going. Like when I see somebody with like a full Milsim kit and I know that they've got some weight on there and they're full on sprinting, I'm like,
Yeah.
I live in it. But obviously, guys, so anything cardio is really going to help you when it comes to airsoft and everything like that. And then you can obviously move into more specific exercises and such to move into that. So that's where I wanted to incorporate just kind of gun drills. So now these can kind of get a little iffy because I don't want people running around their parks, especially with Bill 4 passed. Thank you. Okay. You guys should not be doing these kinds of exercises out in the public eye or anything like that because people can kind of get wary, right?
Yeah, this
But if
little
you're at the
thing.
field,
Yeah, you can
yeah,
also
but
do it
if
at
you're at the
home in your
field,
garage.
no, 100%. And this is
Yeah.
something that I do in my room and everything like that. So obviously, gun drills are definitely a great way of working the basic gun mechanics and working to
Mhm.
build the muscle memory for the actual activities that you're going to perform under stress in the game. So whether it be regular up drills, right, just going from a low ready or a high ready stance, being able to kind of like acquire that sight picture and everything like that. Like these sorts of things and exercises, though it might not seem much, though it might seem repetitive, are a really great way to kind of like build that like kind of effectiveness in
Mhm.
in such, right? So obviously you have those gun drills and then you have the cardio aspect moving into that, so then that's obviously how you move into more dynamic kind of things. So you have dry firing where you could either be static target shooting or so you have dry fire training, and then when you're actually training, and then you can be shooting at static targets, or you can set up moving targets, or you yourself can move from target to target. There's lots of things that you can kind of incorporate around when it comes to
Mhm.
airsoft and how you can use it for a training aspect. So that's kind of just like the broad brush that I'd like to paint with that. And then from there, basically, is I want to specify is the weight in airsoft. So with all the equipment and the gear that people kind of acquire throughout airsoft, the weight can really, really add up quickly. And sometimes people get bogged down to the point where they're not able to move as effectively anymore. So these are things that you kind of need to think about, mitigate, kind of work around and stuff. Because I've definitely seen my fair share of guys that have way too much kit on and they can't even manage to sprint from the spawn anymore. So it kind of gets questionable at that point. But yeah, so it's a really good way, obviously, to work out because you've added more weight than your body is used to handling. So it is definitely a workout. So that I'm not knocking you for trying it, but it's definitely something that should be thought about.
Mhm.
So obviously a way to kind of like increase your effectiveness either at airsoft or outside of airsoft is a really good thing, and I like doing, and the three of us have all gone and done together, and we are doing again, is obviously hiking with weight. When you add weight to yourself and everything like that, and you try and push your body again, you're just pushing that level of endurance to try and kind of go past or go further than when you can, and especially when you
Mhm.
drop that weight, it feels so revealing, relieving. Sorry, that was revealing. Both. It could be both. Um, but running with weights, obviously, not as much as when you're hiking, but having even just a little bit of weight while you're either sprinting or when you're jogging and stuff like that, because a long duration jog is definitely going to help build up your stamina and stuff like that. But high intensity stuff is really good for increasing that like kind of like powerful kind of like snap responses, especially for people that are looking to lose weight. So I know a lot of people get that kind of like intertwined thinking that oh, if I run a lot, I'm going to lose a lot of weight and stuff like that. And it's like, yes, you will and stuff like that, but it's a double-edged sword because it's like it's something that you want to lose super fast. You got to do the work, and high
Mhm.
intensity is the way to go for that. So obviously, guys, that kind of I'm just painting a super broad brush so we can all just dive into the discussion. And then my biggest thing that I want people to understand too is that obviously fitness is just the one part of it. It comes into rest and nutrition as well. So obviously you need to be trying to get as much rest as possible, but what is that to some people? So that might require 4 hours of sleep, that might require 10 hours of sleep. I'm optimal and I kind of sit in between about like 6.5, 7. 8 hours always just kind of feels too long for me, and then if I get anything less than like 5 hours, I'm like the worst cranky person ever, right? So um sleep is important to me. I love my bed is like one of the most important things to me. Nutrition, that is a big thing too. So it sucks because I'm not a huge advocate for it, as in myself practicing it. I eat like crap. I am sorry. There are times where I'm like super good on it, and I'll be like, like, oh, I had the whole week where I like made my food and I ate proper like meals and everything like that. And then there's other times where I'm just like way too busy with work or life's just getting bogged down, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, you know what, McDonald's is right there, and I need to grab like 5 junior chickens and just stuff my face right now. And you can't forget the chicken nuggets. Like, come on. But yeah, so obviously, guys, it's really important to try and maintain a good eating habits and everything like that. So, I'm not one to say that you're not allowed to eat out, but eating out is definitely not the best for you. Um, and when it comes to like working out, and if you're like, because there's different ways to attack it, right? If you're just trying to do it for maintenance and eat a healthy lifestyle, or if you're just actually trying to lose weight and those sorts of things, like those are pretty specific, and those can get attacked in a specific way. um if you need advice for that, obviously you can inquire further and stuff like that. Like we stated this in the very beginning, I'm pretty sure, thank you, Poi, is that, guys, we're not personal trainers or anything like that here. We're just three guys that have a pretty in-depth history when it comes to like fitness, and then our lifestyles, and when it comes to airsoft, which is again a run and gun sport. The three of us play. We thought it'd be a really good place to kind of like talk about it.
Hmm.
Actually, disclaimer: I am not a personal trainer as well. Actually,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
David is a personal trainer, licensed, and as well as a CrossFit
Yeah,
trainer as well.
I had my CrossFit certification and my personal trainer certification from NASM. So two well-known organizations. I went through their school regime, essentially studied their materials, and became certified. So I used to teach CrossFit gyms from time to time. I used to coach. I did one-on-ones with people as well, or what you would call like general personal training and things of that nature. But I haven't practiced it in about 3 years now. So it's been a long time since I've actually done that, and
But you
it
don't
was
lose the skill though.
yeah.
Yeah, you don't lose the
No, you
skill.
don't lose the skills. I did it more for the knowledge for myself, because my background, at least with fitness and exercise, is quite extensive. So similar to Mac, I started out in my teen years in sports. Oddly enough, a lot of people are surprised by this, but I did gymnastics and short track speed skating. And I used to do that competitively. And then in high school, I started taking what they called fitness class, which was like weight training and things of that nature. And then my interest kind of devolved from there into um, I guess like CrossFit and other areas, which caught my interest too. And then some of the focus too was fitness preparation for military life. So that's kind of what introduced me into CrossFit. And a coworker of mine actually got me into it, and I've been doing that for let me think. I started at 17, and what, I'm 29, so 12 years now. So it's been a long time. It's been a really long time since I've done that. Yeah, and I compete too. So that was the other one that I did for quite a few years. I missed some airsoft games and some milsims because of it, because I went to CrossFit competitions instead. You don't really win anything crazy, but it's still a lot of fun just doing fitness style workouts, I guess. But that's kind of my background, at least. And then I guess on a personal level, I do take interest in fitness, but it always has to have like a goal or an aim in mind. And I guess the application in airsoft is very applicable for sure. That's one thing that I can definitely see. There's cross modal planes all the time, because airsoft is, it's your physical representation of what everybody does in video games. The only part that's usually left off or is a little nuanced is the fitness component, which most people don't think about. And that's a big portion that, I think is important and should be touched on a little bit more, especially when we're talking about either going to milsims or essentially doing longer scenario games, or even just being able to maintain throughout a day and not come home with another injury, so to speak.
Mm.
Boy has some pretty good experience with that one
Yep.
right there.
Yep.
So
Yeah, exactly, right. And I mean, and then especially touching on that last point and the one before that, right, is just like seriously focusing on injuries, because a lot of people kind of go into situations where they're just not expecting those sorts of movements, or kind of like that
yeah,
exposure to kind of like that level of physicality. Like, like I've definitely talked to many a dad that has run around with their child that weekend, and they're just huffing and puffing, and they're like, I did not expect to
yeah,
be like dripping with
and they get
sweat, or
gas
like,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
and yeah, and then that can also see. So this is why I really like getting into this with you guys, because again, so when it comes down to like the gameplay of the game, of being able to run and gun
Hmm.
and play the game effectively, like this can really have a dramatic like effect on people's like happiness, or and overall enjoyment of their time, right? Because nobody wants to just be able to like walk and get shot and
Hmm.
then have to walk again,
Yeah,
like, yeah, there's.
it's a nice feeling being able to get on top of a position, so to speak, faster than other people, or being able to, pardon my language, but haul ass and carry a lot of load with you. I know a lot of people will always go, "Oh my god, like why are you, how can you carry that?" It's like, well, you can work up to that. And exercise is a huge component to that kind of thing. I mean, one of those players that's no privy to it. I put on a lot of weight every time I play airsoft, and maybe a little bit more than I should at times for just a regular game day. But it's fun. I mean, I find that aspect kind of enjoyable, and I like getting something out of it if I'm doing the physical component. You know.
Yeah, same thing for me too. When it comes to milsim, yeah, you're hauling all
Hmm.
that stuff. So even before I start the milsim, weeks before I'd be training for it already, and
Yeah.
adding weights and progressively getting heavier and heavier, right? And that's part of my workout regime as well. Is basically like, I need to know what my end goal is. Right? I need to know where the
Yeah.
goal post is. I unfortunately, my background is I don't like to work out, honestly, and if I don't
That
have an
can't
end
be your
goal,
background, Poi. Okay, you're not allowed to have that. That's like, oh, I don't like. Do you think I like running?
Well, neither do I. I hate working
who
out,
likes
but
working out?
I
I
do
don't.
Yeah,
it because
yo,
there's
it
certain
sounds like a
reasons why.
pyramid scheme to me. Okay, you're telling me I have to keep coming back here and I have to keep working out.
It's called
Hmm.
maintenance, buddy. It's called
Yeah.
maintenance.
Call,
That's why I
Sounds sus.
yeah, that's why I hated it. Like I hate working out. I didn't like running, but
yeah.
somehow I got into it, right? And yeah, my like I guess I'll go through my history. I didn't really start running until I was in my early 20s. Like I didn't have any other workout regimen or anything like that other than an injury I received when I was playing soccer. So I
Mm.
didn't really like PE as much. I mean, I was okay with it. When I was at grade 12 and stuff, I didn't really take any physical
Hmm.
like education at that point when I was in high school, and I avoided it as much as I can. I was more into the computers right away and the arts right away. So I had no problems with that. And then my injuries from when I was in middle school really like
Caught up with you?
caught not caught up, but sort of like it just prevented me from going to any sports at that point.
Yeah.
So when I was 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then all the way up to my 20s, I did not do any sports at all. And of course, I ballooned up and stuff because I wasn't really exerting myself any further. I was on the computer a lot more.
Hmm.
Typical nerdy kid, right? Like playing StarCraft, Diablo on the computer. Spend all night playing it. And yeah, it's when I left. And I worked at fast food at 18, 19, and it's when I worked in there. I really just ballooned up even more. I was pretty heavy set too, and
Yeah.
And then I went to India for 2 years. I went there as a teacher for BCIT, teaching digital arts, and then I got introduced to something called yoga back there, and it was awesome because I got to learn from an actual yoga guru, who was also my apartment manager, or flat manager. And he basically like gave me personal training on how to like meditate properly, how to do breathing controls properly, how to clear your mind, how to levitate basically with your mind. And yeah, it's crazy. No, I don't tell a lot of people about the story, but it basically got
Dude, I didn't know you lived in India. That's freaking
yeah,
awesome. Like,
yeah,
we're
no,
talking more about this.
yeah, and yeah, my after doing that, learned everything I needed to know, and almost got like flesh-eating bacteria disease. Well, actually, I got it twice, but
Oh, that's exciting.
yeah.
Oh my
Anyways,
God.
and two
The
operations
cabin
later,
fever?
yeah, and also dengue fever as well. Yeah, I
Oh
left
God.
because I'm like, yeah, this is not healthy for me. I left
Yeah,
and then landed a job at my current job, and it's awesome because
Nice.
it's been since then, so it's almost been like 12 years
Hmm.
now. And that was my history right there. Is when I came back, I was like super enlightened, super like my overall mind changed over fitness and stuff, and I lost a lot of weight when I was there just
Hmm.
from the heat alone. And I'm like, okay, I guess I should like now I have a regular job, like a 9 to 5 job, and it's Monday to Friday. I'm like, I don't know what to do on the weekends now. I need to do something. I need to, because what they trained me over there to not focus on something, just clear my mind and you know achieve something, have a goal. I then like my mind process start to change. Like I need to do something. I
Hmm.
need to see something. And then luckily enough, I had a friend who was just finishing up her what is it? What was I talking about? The um kinesiology. She was doing her
Oh, kin
kinesiology.
degree.
Yeah, she was
Nice.
doing her kin degree, and then she basically like wrote up a nice little well, she read what I was going through, what my body type was. It's different for everybody, and then she had to do this sort
Hmm.
of not experiment, but like part of her training was like doing personal training, and she basically went through and wrote up a little guide for me on what to do and stuff, which is cool because it's not it's sort of generic, but it's designed towards me, and I kind of updated it over the years.
Yeah, it's tailored.
It's it's
It's
it's tailored to me and what I know and
that's yeah,
what
that's good. That's not to sorry to
yeah
interrupt, but that's actually like really good on anytime you have a personal trainer or somebody with a kinesiology degree or knows a thing or two and they build something that's tailored to you specifically because each person is unique. You get much better results
yeah
with that than you would if you just buy like a generalized program, which kind of works for the masses because no one two person kind of interacts the same with fitness. It's a little easier for some people with higher metabolism to lose weight, and for some people slower, you need to kind of adjust things. So I mean, that's a great thing. And
yeah.
honestly, your friend's pretty awesome to give that to you for free. So,
Oh, yeah, I was lucky, I guess. And then yeah, we both and then after she was done with that, we both had the same sort of job Monday to Friday and 9 to 5, and we both decided, oh, why don't we just get into some sort of something cheap like running because that's a very cheap sport. Everything's outside, you just have to buy shoes and we're like, "Okay, let's do it. Let's try it out." And that started with our end goal being that we were gonna run, what is it, the fall classic half
hmm
marathon up at UBC, I believe, and that was awesome because like it gave me a goal post at the very end. It gave me something to look up to. It gave me an increment of how much time training and you know um, everything else that like cross training that you need to go through it. Um, I'll show you my workout regimen in a bit here, but I'll just
hmm
finish off the history here. Basically, 5 years of running later, just doing the same thing, putting an end goal somewhere, and then whether it be a race, a mud race, a sun run, even right. You put something in there. You slowly start from the beginning, and then level up to where you are now. So it's
yeah,
almost like a what do you call it? Like an evolution sort of
yep,
deal.
100%.
Yeah.
That's
So you
exactly
you
what
put it in there, you write it down, you'd be like, this is the date. We have what is it, like 15 weeks or something,
hmm
which is pretty much a good time. So you start off in the first week and then increment it the next 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks after that, 2 weeks after that, 2 weeks after that. And then you taper off. You don't just go hard all the way to the end. You just go hard, taper off, make sure that you don't injure yourself, and then you go hard on that day.
yeah. But
So
those are training regimes,
yeah.
and like having that is always good. So
Yeah.
I mean, back when I was in my competition phase for CrossFit, I would have like a 3 or 4 month cycle basically working with weights up to specific aims, especially with like Olympic lifting, because we do a whole lot of that. So essentially it was working up to a certain weight and being able to maintain like a heavy weight for a certain period of time and high intensity. And mind you, it was very well regimented from my coaches. And then you would stop, you'd have a small rest interval basically where you do a maintenance period. And then we would go essentially into the cardiovascular aspect of it or the anaerobic part.
Yeah.
And then your competition phase would come. And then your competition phase was essentially pre prep, which would be like 2 weeks essentially before the competition. 1 week was just like solid rest. I wouldn't do anything. And then the next week essentially was like mobilization, and then essentially just rechecking things and rejigging if you needed to, and then going into the competition. And then right after that, you go into recovery phase. And recovery phase for me was about a month. So it was like a period where there would be focusing on specific areas. So if there was any injuries or like micro issues to kind of deal with, it would kind of focus more intently on that. And then it would start again to what the next goal was and start working up in the training regime. So it's always kind of going up and down. It's funny because a lot of people always think that you just keep going, going, and going and going,
No.
especially if you don't have experience with fitness. It doesn't work,
That's how
and your
the
body diminishing gains will happen essentially if
Yep.
you just keep pushing. And I always like to say you have a red line. Okay, the red line is your competition portion. That's when you push it, you push your limits. Okay, and that's when you go either into the black or you're able to maintain on that red line for a short period of time, and then you come off of it. But if you're doing that on a constant, it just eats away at you, and eventually it leads into the progression where you end up being injured constantly, or the chronic phase where, nothing can be recovered. And it sucks because I've seen people go down that modal plane, and it's too easy to kind of do that. And
Yeah.
then for airsofters, it's I kind of, like, I don't want to sound like a bad guy, but I've seen it a lot with a lot of people. And it's funny because I'll talk to someone who'll be like, "Hey, how you doing?" They're like, "Oh, well, I busted my ankle like last week here, and now I'm out for 4 months, but I'm still trying to come back to it." And they just keep doing it over and over. It's like, okay, do you do any rehabilitation exercises? Do you restabilize? Do you refocus on strength and then power to get back to it? You know?
Do you even ice it? No, I
No.
just kept my foot in my boot. Wait, you didn't even ice it. Are you
Yeah.
applying any heat to it? What? No, why would I do that? The only heat that's on there is when my shoes get hot. Oh my god.
Yeah, and coming from someone who's received injuries before, after I've been running for so long,
Hmm.
after all of this, it's just I get what you mean by, it's not a constant. What people think it's like going up like
Yeah.
that. No. For me, from the last 5 years of running and then the last couple of years of just working out, it's been like this, right?
Hmm.
Goal, rest.
Goal,
Goal, rest.
rest. Yep.
Goal, rest. It's you're for me it was beating the previous times, right?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you're like you have to set that goal. Be like, oh yeah, I could beat the half
Hmm.
marathon in 2.5 hours. Be like, oh, 2:15. 2:10, 2:08. It was just
Yeah.
going down. The numbers keep going down, right? But right away that you're not constantly going. It looks like you're going
No.
constant, but it's always been like ups and downs and ups and downs. Sometimes it'll be up and then down and then static down because of the fact that
Yeah.
I would have injuries or something like that I have to rehab from, right? You have to, you're right. You have to do
Hmm.
stability. You have to do strength. You have to do all kinds of things to make sure that that doesn't happen because you don't want to
Yeah.
off balance yourself when it comes to
So
these things.
it's funny you mention that because when I took my personal training course under NASM, there's essentially three planes to focus on, and the first plane is your stability. It's your ability. So the easiest way I can say it is, if you go into a plank, high or low position right now, and you hold, if your body starts shaking violently and you don't understand why because you're flexing, it's your stabilizers are trying to activate, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to stabilize. It sounds ridiculous, but the reality is that is like your first plane of motion that you need to kind of work on, especially for people who are new to fitness. Isometric holds with like planks and things of that nature is really good because they suck. I hate them too. But at the end of the day, it helps build that foundation in which you can build strength upon it. If you just jump to the next block, which is strength basically, and go into that with no stabilization, it's a recipe for disaster for injuries. And then your last phase, which is at the performance level, which is power basically. That's your ability to use your fast twitch, slow twitch, explosive movements, things of that nature. And it's funny because in airsoft we do so much of that, but at the same time, a lot of people don't really think about it. So Mac, you mentioned that earlier, like when people get up from the prone position very aggressively and then decide they're going to run, that is 100% power. And now there's either two ways that's going to go. It's either you're going to get up, it's going to hurt, and it's not going to feel right, and then you're going to run, and then right after that you're going to go, oh, something's twinged, like something
Your
doesn't move
back
right.
muscles usually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Most
yeah.
of the time I've seen it with a lot of people is that they don't have the upper body strength, and then so
Yeah.
this too where it plays into it, and we're talking about stability, guys, right? And then oh god, because this gets even more. It's like proper footwear, right? If you are running in
Hmm.
a forest, you need to not be going 100% Usain Bolt sprint. Okay, this is not a racetrack. You need to be mindful of the trees, the roots, the sticks, the deadfall, whatever, right? Like obviously you're allowed to like physically exert yourself and go for a sprint, like I do all the
Hmm.
time, but like, like you need to be aware of where you're stepping and stuff like that. Cause yeah, like a rolled ankle and stuff like that, like it can happen, right? But obviously
Oh
you
yeah.
do preventative measures to like make sure you mitigate those chances. Like
Same thing with
obviously,
tripping and biffing it. That
mhm.
happens a lot too. And I did that last weekend, which was awesome.
Hmm. At least you're not
But yeah,
injured now, right?
just mentioning that there right there is like one of the things that I understand people don't understand is like you're basically doing a burpee if you're getting down and then
Mhm.
getting back up and sprinting, I was like, that's like that's the best exercise like in the world. Like,
Yeah, practice doing that really fast, and then just in your head say, "Up he sees me down," and then do that over and over and over for long distances. It sucks. It sucks so much. But yeah, I mean, burpees, crappy movement. Great though when you want to talk about like airsoft related stuff, because at the end of the day, you're gonna do a lot of them inadvertently speaking.
Yep.
Yeah, unless you
Uh,
like standing behind trees, and I mean, even that doesn't work too well if you're trying to get the best
each their own.
best type of gameplay out of your performance. I mean, it's funny because airsoft is all dynamic movements. None of it is truly static in any way because you're using your body to its physical capacity. At the same time, you're using multiple muscle groups or you're recruiting multiple muscle patterns basically in motion. So I like this plane of motion personally. So for me, for my like when I enjoy exercise and things of that nature, I train in a what is it? The dynamic modal plane. I like some isometric stuff and isolated movements and things of that nature. Even the stuff like we get from like Olympic lifting, which is where you're basically it's up and down, as simple as that. That's all it really is. But you're always facing one direction. I like moving where you're moving on angles and things like that. So kettlebells, I love those things. They suck, but they're great. You know, it's stuff like that that really applies to airsoft because airsoft is extremely dynamic and we're not going forward and back only. We're also going side to side. So the joke, I guess, from like movies and things like that is running a serpentine when you're being shot at, that kind of thing. Airsofters love doing that kind of stuff. And it's hilarious to watch dudes like run circles around trees and instead of like running straight sometimes. But that kind of stuff is really good for pivoting. But understanding that you need to kind of work in those areas too is going to save you from blowing out your ankle or your knee or biffing it pretty hard and you throw something
twisting
else
your
out.
ankle, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, we might as well jump into it. So, what is your
Hmm.
guys' sort of workout regimen now, or previously, or like to cross train for airsoft? Who wants to start first?
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Just Tack go.
You go, Tack.
Sorry,
Tack is not with us
Mac go.
today.
Oh,
It's okay.
Oh,
You've hurt me in more ways than one before.
you are in
No.
place holding of Tack now.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Go
could
ahead.
just Tack pull off my workout regimen. I'd like to see anyone else try. Basically, since
So Monday,
just before
do
the
like a
new year.
split Monday to Friday. What your week looks like, and then let's look at diet, and then rest, and then whatever else
Okay.
workouts you do on those days.
Okay. Monday to Friday. I work a pretty demanding job. I'm a commercial carpenter, so I'm working as a formal carpenter. So I wear a full body harness with my tools on for about 8 hours, 9 hours sometimes, 10. If it
Your
happens.
job is a
It
workout.
happens. It is a physically demanding job. I am wearing a belt that weighs probably a good 30 pounds, maybe 40 if I like load it up 100% or whatever. But yeah, so I'm wearing that prolonged throughout the day with all my movements and everything like that. And so that's why it's definitely something that you need to be aware of about stretching and stuff like that, about getting yourself into those awkward positions and everything like that. Because again, sometimes you're swinging a hammer and it's like that's not the way it's supposed to swing. So that's me for Monday to Friday from when that's my day job, so 7 till about 4, and then I go home and I get changed, cleaned up, and then I go run around my local park just because of basically ever since kind of COVID started and everything like that. I haven't gone to the gym just because I didn't want to put myself into kind of like that chance of like I know they opened for a little bit with the whole break, but now we're going back into like a third wave or whatever. So a lot of indoor places
Yeah.
have closed down. So I just avoided it the whole time. So throughout the whole winter and everything like that, I was just running outside. So I've done 10K every day for 208 days
That's
or something like
impressive.
that.
That's impressive, actually.
Yeah, and
That's good.
Yeah.
thanks. Yeah, and so like mind you guys, I'm not running 10K every day, right? So there are days where I swap the 10K out. so this is the way it'll go. So basically I'll start off and I'll do like a weighted 10K, and I've worked my way up now to where I have 30 pounds in my plate carrier that I run with. So and again, this is all I worked up from these 208 days.
So when you
But
first
yeah.
start, did
Mhm.
you start at 10K, or was your goal was to like run 1K or something, or
What was I? I was like
500 meters even?
it was peak destruction. So what did I do? I think I like didn't count. The first day I actually ran, I didn't count. I just ran until I couldn't run anymore. And like mind you, that was pretty fast,
Yep.
right? I like ran down from my house, ran down to the local track around my school, like my old middle school that I used to go to
Yeah,
down
I
the
know where it is.
street.
Yeah,
And yeah, right, like I could barely get around the track without like stopping.
and
And
then
then
you
it
go
was like,
back home,
okay,
right?
like
Mhm.
yeah, and then it's like this is not okay. Like I need to change this. And now, like from now at this point, like today, like I went and did my fastest 10K I've ever done, like unweighted and everything like that. So, and it was the first time I ran in a t-shirt and shorts. Oh my god, today was a beautiful day. I mean, I'm just so used to wearing my like winter sweatsuit of like my Arc'teryx jacket, a pair of sweatpants, and like a heavy toque and stuff because most
The
of the time it was
drip be
raining.
heavy.
Yeah. Oh man, because but yeah, so that's basically all I'm doing is I've because I was okay. So basically, if anyone didn't know or anything like that, I was quite large. I was 265 pounds. Yeah, so I was quite depressed and quite large horizontally. And so for myself and my history and stuff like that, if anyone's heard my like sports background or my life and everything like that, I've fluctuated on my body so many times. It's literally like that catalog where it's like summer, like summer, fall, spring, winter, right? Like it just goes back to like what I look like, and it's like but summer's coming, so we got to get ready. This is why we put the work in early, okay? But yeah, so
Beauty
I've
she
been
shorts. What?
I'm just saying, okay, prepare for those Top Gun volleyball scenes.
Oh, buddy.
Right? That's what I'm saying. But so since I've started running and everything like that, I used the cardio as a really good means of like losing weight, obviously, and I've lost a very large amount. Like, I think last time I weighed myself, like so I was at 265 when I started my runs, and like again, yeah, it was bad. And I am now, I think, 205 or something like that. So
Wow.
it's yeah, like I've had to buy completely new clothes. Like if I can't wear the same pants anymore without like having to like wrench on my
Hmm.
belt to try and stay up and everything like that. Funny thing, I bought a new work harness at work and it doesn't fit because I'm too small. So I had to cut two new holes into the belt
Oh
so it would
no.
stay up. Right? It was terrible. Everyone at work makes fun of me for it. But yeah, so since I started the cardio, I obviously started adding in a lot of kind of like calisthenic workouts and everything like that, and different kind of like body weight exercises to kind of like maintain and grow some muscles. Because obviously, cardio is a great way to like lose weight and everything like that, but it's also a terrible way to uh, to 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 lose muscle. I was gonna say because
Hmm.
you're not gaining any like upper body strength and everything
No.
like that from just doing cardio all day,
Yep.
right? So that's definitely a factor. So obviously I've incorporated a lot of like push and pull stuff with body weight and pull up bars and everything like that, and I'm doing this all in like a park. I have like a little bottle of hand sanitizer with me and stuff, and then I'm safe because I'm by myself. I run and I keep to myself and everything like that. So that's what has been my COVID routine, and it's proven really effective for me because the few times I have played airsoft, because again, everyone always asks me when I'm going to play, but I'm busy working and ensuring that you have a good time. Um, when I do play, it's pretty fun because whether I play weighted or unweighted, and I prefer playing weighted because I like the challenge more. Um, like I really love the immersion of it where it's like you're sprinting super hard with all of your weight and then you're gassed out. And then basically from there, it's like, okay, this is where the fun starts. And like, this is where the
Ah.
muscle memory kicks in and everything like that.
Do.
Okay. So when you were playing airsoft, it felt way better than it was before, right? You're
Oh, well, so I've always taken that angle when it comes to airsoft too. I've never like taken it as like a leisurely kind of like walk to play thing. I've always been one of those people that like to go 100%. So when it comes to like sprinting to objectives, I'll sprint back to a respawn because I'd rather get in more playtime. Um, I like to get up close and personal and stuff like that. So I'm not the type to like want to sit back and just like have people come to me. It's like, no, I'm gonna go find you. Like that's who I am. So that's basically how I attack fitness and how I use fitness and airsoft in relation to each other.
Okay, that's good.
Good stuff.
That's good. Like, it's good to hear that it's worked out for you. You started off with cardio running. Didn't really have a
So that was just
goal.
this year. Like, so for me personally, I love Olympic lifting. That
Yeah.
is what I like doing. That's where my base is.
Oh yeah.
When I played football, I was a really intense high school football player with college aspirations that didn't go through. But the things that I never left from that was obviously I took my strength and conditioning courses in high school and everything, and that made a solid base where I can always go back, and then I know how I can work around it, and then so I'm not as trained as Dave and stuff like that. So thank God that we have you here, Dave, because you can explain and you're much better at going into this than I am. But so it's like I have the same knowledge as Dave, but I'm just not going to be able to articulate it the same way as him or anything, right? But yeah, so that's basically how I play around with it.
And as far as like nutrition and recovery, do you
I am
incorporate any of those?
terrible. No, so I am a big advocate for rest. Okay, I will not be opposed to a rest day or taking a little bit of extra sleep or stretching. Like I count that as a rest and everything, right? Just making sure that your body is kind of like working as it should be. Like if you're feeling sore, like there's a difference between sore and like right. So this is what my football coach used to always tell me. There's a difference between pain and injury. Right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
right,
That's
you have
it's
pain
a big
because
thing.
pain is momentary and it's going to let you know that you're alive. Where you have an injury is a prolonged pain that is going to keep reminding you that you are in pain and should not be doing something. Right. So like in those instances, if it's a little bit of pain, obviously you can push through it. But if you are injured, you need to take the time to rehab, just like we've all just rehashed out, right? It's like take the time, rehab it, get yourself back to a workable position, and then from there you work up. Because again, if you hit the ground running and you barely survive, and then you expect to do it again, right? Like, yeah, exactly. That's the word, the phrase that Dave used there. Is just if you're redlining the whole way through, it's like, how are you going to make it to the end, right?
Yep.
So
That wall is going to be pretty hard when you hit it too.
and it's going to be very fast. Like,
But it's also good to figure out where your wall is so that you could work on it.
Yeah, you got to test it from time to time and kind of poke and prod at it, but it's not something you should be approaching on a constant.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So like, yeah, I'll nerd out in a minute when I get to my stuff, so I don't want to cut Mac off too much.
Yeah, no, that's
pretty much good, man. Poi, if you want to take a stab at the next one.
Yeah, sure. I guess we'll let the personal trainer and CrossFit trainer go last. I'm sorry, Dave.
No problem. What they do, and here's what you should do. Like,
we'll take all of your 2 advices and we'll just throw it away. And here it is, the real one.
Yeah,
so you see all this right here that you guys said? Yeah, that's a bunch of trash. So
it's anecdotal. That's all you have to say. There's no science behind it.
Again, me and Mac are not, like, disclaimer, we're not personal trainers. This is what we do. This is what works for us, and this is what our schedule allows us to do, and what our body types allow us to do. Everybody's going to be different, honestly. I'm going to be a little bit different as well. For me, I'm really good at sticking to routines. When I started working out, I like I said, I started off with my friend. She was basically into kinesiology, and she gave me a nice routine that she read through, with me, because by analyzing what my work schedule is, and as well as my body type, and as well as what my needs are and what I wanted, I honestly had no idea what I wanted to do. I just pretty much said, no, like running would be cool because it's cheap, it's free. The only thing you need to start with is a pair of shoes, and
anyone can do it.
Anyone can do it. Yep. Yeah, any body type, anyone can do it. It could be a jog, it could be a run, it could be a hike. It's all outdoors. Right. The reason I started with that is because I was looking for the cheap angle, and as well as I already like to hike, so that was a big plus for me. Um, you guys have my airsoft / workout routine there.
I downloaded it. I'm gonna try that out after
I saved it myself too because I'm gonna take a real stint at it later on and
Yeah,
see
no, I
what
don't
else I
mind.
can pick out of it.
This
It's
is
not bad. It's actually pretty good.
yeah, this is I had to update it for this for this podcast because I
Yeah.
wanted to put down a little bit more into what my method was. But this photo right here is basically from my first half marathon, which is the Fall Classic. You can see that I'm like what am I, like a 185 here pounds, and there's Annabelle as well in her prime
in the
in
picture
running.
or like right now?
Huh?
In the picture or like right now?
The picture back then I was like 185.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was training for a good 3 months, three to 4
Like,
months.
you were a pretty
For,
big guy when you were all bulked up at your prime. I've seen you at like your like peak, like where you were all like, yeah, this is like all I was doing, and then now you've like divulged your life into
yeah.
so many different aspects.
Honestly, when I started this marathon, I wasn't even at Airsoft yet. So
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like you weren't there yet. Like this is what I mean. Like
yeah, once you realize Airsoft kind of needs upper body, then I
What?
basically rewired my workout to have all of this. So let me just go through this here. So I'm not the best at workouts, honestly. I tend to stick with standard routines. Once someone puts in front of me a schedule, I stick to it because I'm the type of guy that likes to sort of plan stuff. Point being is I from what my friend told me is like I just need to burn energy, and cross training for Airsoft became part of this workout afterwards. As long as I'm burning your energy, I'm more than okay because I like to eat a lot too. So I'm big on food. So
Yes.
you there,
Yes.
yeah, to eat good food, I have to burn energy. That was basically what she drilled into me. Is like input, output,
Output.
input,
Mhm.
output, and then when there is no output, you have input. Then there's a bit too much. That's
Then there's storage.
there's storage afterwards.
Yeah,
There's
that's a good way of putting it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
We were gonna save this for later.
yeah.
like-
That's what she drilled into me. So we started off with the 15-week program. You could change it. This is my program here, basically. I started off training half marathons, so there was a lot more running involved in this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday schedule. There was a lot more running. Like I believe it was the other way around. It was Monday run, Wednesday run, Friday run, and then
Oh, that's not
Sunday.
bad.
Sunday or Saturday was the long runs, right? We our long runs would be 10K. But when we started, we were like 1K, 2K, 1K, 2K, and then 4K at the end of the week, right?
Mhm.
But you could totally design this to what you want. When I started to get into the airsoft portion, then I started to add leg days, back days, arms and chest days. Now, you could take this sets to what you want. You could take the leg days and do whatever it is that you want to focus on or do. You could do your back days, and you could pull up a bunch of back day workouts, and there's a whole bunch of them online, and then arm and chest days.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you could basically just like isolate a lot of these things, and there's a lot of different workouts. Doesn't matter as long as you're working on the lower body, your back, your arms and chest, right? You're basically good to go for airsoft, because for leg days for me, I needed to carry more weight, because you're carrying not only your combat load, but in milsims you're carrying your sustainment loads. That includes leg and back, right? Arm and chest is basically me carrying either my the saw that I have, or a rifle, or whatever attachments I put in it. Like, it's gonna get heavy throughout.
Oh yeah.
And
Yep.
I needed to build strength, and I focused on that because I knew right away when I was carrying my rifle and I started adding more crap to it. Right, I started
gets
to
heavy.
how hard it is to get it
how
up
hard it is to get it up and stuff. Oh my
and
god.
stay up. That's the thing people don't understand too.
Yeah, so I started to work on that. So this. I would say this workout was last updated probably 5 years ago. I haven't really updated it since now.
Pretty good, man. I like it. I'm
So
gonna actually try this out
yeah,
after I hit
back
my
in the
red
days,
line.
this is what I did for probably 3 years of my life. After I was pretty much like running for a good 3 years before that, and
Mm.
it helped out a lot.
It's not a bad program.
Yeah,
Pretty
you
good.
you could change a lot of these things. In the little disclaimer here, I add running days can be increased to add another 2K every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks you could add like 4K, 4K, and then another 6K long
Mm-hmm.
run, or 6K, 6K, and then 8K, long runs. It's really up to you. If you're finding that
Yeah.
you are plateauing at certain areas, that means you got to increase it. Right? If you're
What means
finding
you
that
need to change?
yeah, if you're finding that your sets are getting boring because you're using the same weights, increase your weights. Or make
Mm-hmm.
supersets. Make it so that it's 4 sets, but it's like super heavy weights, or 3 sets and it's
Mm-hmm.
super heavy weights. Or if you want to go for the endurance version, then go like 10 sets and see what you could do without any weights
Exactly.
or anything, right? There's a lot of things to change it up. In running, we have something called fartlek. That's a funny Swedish word.
Oh
It's
God, I hate it.
it's
I hate
basically
it. I hate it. I
a
hate it.
Swedish word for speed play. So what speed play is basically it's a variable amount of sprints in your regular runs without any
Mm-hmm.
like breaks or rests in between. So let's say you're just running, and then your partner goes, "All right, let's sprint," and then just sprint
Yep.
as hard as you can, as fast as you can,
It's a
and then
great way to find out how much you hate yourself too.
yeah, and then afterwards go back to a regular run, and you're like, "Oh my god, okay, okay, let me catch it, run, fuck,
Too
come
brisk
on,
jog,
seriously."
Yeah.
Too brisk
If you
jog.
Yeah.
do it on a timer and a clock too,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
really
so much more
annoying.
brutal.
We had a timer that was random, and it was annoying,
Yeah.
especially when you're going uphill.
Oh, I bet. Oh my God,
Yeah.
yeah.
So variable
Ugh.
training,
That's
yeah. That
yeah.
you should
Yep.
also do the same thing for, again, your regular gym day workouts too, because of the fact that
Mm-hmm.
it does change it up a bit. Interval training is great. Look it up when you're going to the gym. A lot of these gym workouts you could actually do at home, if unless you have a deadlift like bar, but
I do.
you could still use like regular barbells and stuff. So I have like 25s and 15s at homes that I use, and
Oh, you have dumbbells and stuff?
yeah. You could, yeah. I have them at home, and I also have a kettlebell as well, which is awesome. I love using the kettlebells.
Perfect. Yeah.
Um. So yeah, that's my workout, and I stick with that for about 15 weeks until I start making changes to it, or I start to sort
Mm-hmm.
of like once I hit that
Plateau.
plateau, or I've reached my
Mhm.
goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's when I
Then
kind
you
of just
shift.
like
What?
I shift a bit,
Re-
right?
yeah, it's time to reorganize, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you can't just constantly do this all the time. You just gotta keep changing. You gotta keep working on something. If you find that you're stronger in something, right, ignore it. Go to something. Focus on something else. We were mentioning that these are a lot of these workouts are isolation workouts, but you could change it to whatever other workouts people are doing online, right?
Yeah.
And just do it. It's different for me, it's different for you, it's different for everybody. Whatever you find that it's fun to move around with and not in pain. For me, especially with my ankle injuries, I tend to avoid a lot of the the painful leg stuff. But I'll
Mhm.
focus on it with something else, like calf raises. Like that's easy. I'll feel it a
Well,
little bit, but you're strengthening something that you need, especially when you're airsofting or crab walking and
Oh
stuff,
yeah.
right? And
well, it's like that is why Poi is getting into bicycle riding.
Mm-hmm.
so that's the workout there. I'll put this down in a link for you guys to look at. Next one
Check it out.
is stretch workouts. Can't emphasize enough. Stretching is by far very important after a workout. I don't know why. Just do it, guys. It feels good. You know, you could do it. I usually do at the start of my workout and then at the end of my workout. I don't know why, but I
Oh, you
just
do like a warm up?
yeah, I do like a warm up and then
Mm-hmm.
I'll do lifts and
Good
then
idea.
afterwards I'll do another stretch again.
I won't
The
lie.
end. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm pretty sure, or like I'm pretty sure it doesn't affect you too bad whether you do it before
Just
but I do
don't
know, like,
do.
medically, like, scientifically, everything, it's like doing it after is like 100%.
Yeah.
So
Like,
the only caveat to stretching, which I'll touch on, is if you're going to stretch before a workout or doing any physical exercise to a higher extent for activity,
mhm.
don't do static stretching. Do dynamic. So
Mm,
if you do static stretching in the beginning, what you're actually going to do is you're going to elongate those muscle tissues and fibers, and you're essentially going to switch them off. To switch them
ah,
on, you do dynamic stretching, which engages and gets the neuromotor muscular system going. And then what happens is when you actually do go into the movements, there's less likely you'll get injured at.
well, it's more
And
like
I would,
a aerobic at the very
yeah,
beginning. Yeah, I got
yeah,
you.
Mhm.
So that's what I did at the very beginning. Just like do
yeah.
some like
I'll get real nerdy on this
yeah.
one a little bit later on.
All right. At my end stretch workouts are basically just like meditations at the end.
Hmm.
Kind of just like control breathing, control my
Oh,
mind,
dude,
and it feels really
I
good.
love yoga. I
Yeah,
love
I love
yoga
yoga.
too. Do you fall asleep on the floor when you're doing your breathing exercises? Because I do every single
I
time I
do.
do,
I do. After a
and it's kind of
workout, I'm just
embarrassing.
tired. I'm like, I'm taking up floor space, but I don't care. I pay for gym
Yeah,
membership. So again,
yeah. Some of the
I've
these are
only ever
before
done hot
COVID.
yoga once.
oh, dude, no, not hot yoga.
No,
Just like
no,
regular
hot
yoga.
yoga is not. That's just a North American gimmick. I can tell you that right now.
Good
That's
old
just being an
Bikrams.
asshole. Why does it need to be 40 degrees in here? Like, why? Why?
Next thing to that is diet. That was my biggest sort of that was my biggest thing when I started this thing. I'm like,
Hurdle.
wait, you need diet
Hmm.
to maintain your in and out? And my friend also got into the diet portion of it because she was like into that stuff too, and I think she was a nutritionist at that point. What she was trained to be a nutritionist as well, but I think she more focused on um fitness. But diet is like I would say like 70 to 80% of what the
Yeah,
workouts is, honestly. Um,
it
she
affects
did,
your performance
yeah,
too.
she didn't like what I do because again, it works for me, but she mentioned that you would have to do small meals like every like 5 times a day. I wasn't into that because my schedule only allowed me to like do lunch and dinner. I'm
Are
not a
you
big fan of breakfast.
are you a stocking stuffer? Are you the kind of person that you take a big meal and you just shove it all in there and just try and get it all in one go?
Yeah, yeah. For
Yeah, I
me,
do that too.
dinner time for
Right?
me is like
Yeah.
5 minutes. I just eat fast
Yeah,
and then that's it.
yeah, and it's done.
Yeah,
Good to
and
go.
then I'll just clean my dishes afterwards. Well, it's not sticky anymore, right? But yeah, for me, diet was like the hardest part because you have to stick to it, and you have to stick to it
Oh yeah.
hard. And it's a good thing I'm stubborn because I could just eat something the same thing over and over again, so that was no problem for me. So I only ate lunch, I only ate dinner. Lunch for work time, and then dinner after I worked out. Um, After each run session, I usually like eat heavy protein foods. I don't cook, so I tend to, after I'm done with the gym, I usually just hit like either like the fast food or anything that has good food, honestly. But I do like a calorie count, honestly. Your body usually maintains about 2,500 calories in one day, which is fine. So I would get close to that or over, depending on how hard I'm
Hmm.
working out. Things that I usually look out for is like grilled chicken, grilled chicken salads, grilled chicken wraps, Subway chicken with like heavy on the greens and heavy on the proteins, or like Donair chickens. Like that was
Yeah.
my diet for like probably a good like 15 weeks, right? 15 to 4 months, whatever. And I kept that one up. I basically was only eating to like to stay energized and as well as like keep up with the workouts that I was like
Hmm.
outputting, and that was great. Um, if Pro tip, if you're near like your end goal, like it's either half marathon, marathon, or like a Milsim West, 24 hours before the event, I would just carb up right away. That's like I don't know what your guys' tips on that is, but especially in a Milsim West, I'll have like a good dinner and then make sure I poop
Dude,
before I go.
my brother and I, the night before Mills, like even leading up to it, right?
Yeah,
Though, but just like you're talking, like the night before we leave for an MSW
yeah,
event, we know how like energy taxing it's going to be. I think we ate pasta all 3 meals of the day. Like we woke up and had like pasta in the morning,
Yeah.
woke up and had pasta at lunch, woke up and then before dinner it's like pasta. It's like, oh,
You
it's
gotta
so
make sure
good.
it's one of those
And
things that
then
you don't puke, right? You gotta
100%.
you
And
gotta
then
maintain that
even when we were
calories.
down there,
Yep.
when we were down there, we were trying to make sure that we were eating some of the right foods. But of course, we were in the States, and it's like, yo, we don't have Jack in the Box. Let's go. Like,
Dude, we gotta hit in and out before we clearly get in and out of the field.
Yeah.
yo, dude,
So
we did.
it's a
Oh,
little
so
bit
good.
dangerous when you're eating something, beforehand, and you don't know when it's gonna come out the next day. You're gambling it at that point.
It's okay. No, guys.
It's
and
better.
what,
It's
pro
better
tip.
than MREs coming out. I
Look,
tell you that.
pro tip. Hey, this pro tip involves the MRE. If you guys need to plug up for an MSW event, okay, all it requires, guys, is 5 Cliff
it
Bars eaten continuously
It works
right
wonders
away.
on you guys, but rations go through me like water.
Oh, really?
So-
Well, I'm just saying. 5
So
Cliff
it's a
Bars,
faucet. Then
okay,
that's disgusting.
Yeah. It's a Jackson Pollock painting.
minimal water, 5 Cliff Bars, nothing's coming out. You're gonna have trouble later, but you're gonna 5 at the end.
Oh
So-
God.
When I mean like carb out, you basically get double the amount that you would usually get for that day.
Yeah, you're storing energy loads,
you want to
basically.
store that energy, and you're gonna burn through it the next day because you're going above and beyond your goal. Basically, you're gonna try and achieve that.
Going to be where you're going. What you want to train for is obviously your goal, and then the end result is either subpar of the goal or you supersede the goal.
Yep.
And that's where you need to be able to have the training to kind of reflect on that, because it's like you've done your training, so obviously your goal should be pretty damn high. So it's like if you were to even come close to the goal, you were obviously
You're not at that red line at that point, right?
You're in your comfort zone
green.
no matter what.
You're gonna be like, hey, I'm so close. Maybe I should push it to the end. And that's usually what I do for my big runs. Is like in my half marathons is like, shoot, I'm like 5K away, and I'm like this, like I'm good. I'm gonna go, right.
You
Yeah, you
got the
just
energy.
dump it.
Yeah. You get that second wind, and
Yeah.
you're like, let's do this. I have not been running already for 10K.
So also another big tip is after the big event is reward yourself. Let your body know you did a good job, because it's your body, right? It's a mindset. You gotta place yourself in a mindset. You're running for such a long time. You're like, oh man, that big ass burger, that triple burger is gonna be at the end of the finish line, right? That's
Chocolate or something like that, ice cream. Like, I know a
Yeah.
lot of people end up like torturing themselves, and then they're like, oh, I can't eat that ever.
Yep.
And it's like, I understand some people might have like kind of like okay, so there might be some people with like dietary restrictions and or like superseding health concerns or anything like that, but you're allowed to treat yourself. Like, that's the thing, is you don't ever need to like you don't need, you can punish yourself, just don't have to punish yourself all the time.
Yeah, you reward yourself. Even if it's not an event, if you did a long run and you did well, give yourself a good reward.
Yeah.
Right. Like eat good food or something, or I don't know. It's for me. I'm food motivated. I'm like a dog. So if I jackpot myself
Likewise.
at the end, that's basically it. That's my bigger, like, oh, you did 8K. Good job. Here's food. Don't worry, you're gonna have to work it out on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then I'm like, I regret this. So
Don't worry. You're like,
yeah.
I know that same mentality.
And then like diet is a big one, but recovery is also a big one. Here every
Yep.
week after my long Saturday runs, I would do what they call a recovery process, and that means one thing for me is the dreaded ice bath.
Oh, I love those, dude.
I
don't like
love
them?
ice baths. Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna be like, yo, there's nothing dreaded about an ice
Oh,
bath, man. They're so good.
my running partner was
No,
like,
when
she
you-
hated it, but she
Yeah.
knew she needed to do it because it was cold. It's
You guys actually use ice.
yeah.
Yeah. First introductions to ice bathing is just pure and utter, I hate this, and then
Yeah.
it turns into, it makes me feel good, so I kind of
Yeah.
like it.
So-
and then after a while you're like, it's decent.
Yeah.
But
so,
even then, like the first
Hit me
dip
with that
into it,
ice.
you're like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And then once you're in, you're like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I was
there's a
able through that
reason.
first 5 seconds.
There's a reason you want to do ice bath, especially for running, or any workouts really. But for me in running, you can see the photo here. Actually, there's a photo of me jackpotting myself with some what is that? I don't even know what burger place. I think that's Fat Burgers right there. I had a
Oh
double
my
burger.
god.
So in this photo here, you can see me in a tub full of ice with my I guess hot tea. But so why is ice bath good for you? Well, here's the thing: is when you're running, you pull up blood at the bottom of your, your feet, your legs, whatever. It's stuck there. It's just bad blood that's kind of just stuck there. And what you do is with the I'll just pull it up here. With the ice bath, you're basically contracting your veins. You're pushing that blood back to your system and recycling it, whatever, right? And then it's gonna keep contracting, and then your legs feel numb. Your legs are basically like lifeless at that point. You gotta stay there for about 10 minutes, right? And then after 10 minutes, it's gonna be like, okay, jump into a hot tub, and then after that hot
Yeah,
tub,
yeah.
it's gonna be, um, you're gonna basically what is it here? Blah 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 blah. It'll relax your muscles. It'll promote recovery, and then yeah, it'll open up your blood vessels again, and then you're gonna be like, oh man, it feels good, right? So the proper way of doing it is 10 minutes in ice, and then 10 minutes in hot. Then after that, you're good to go, right? That your body's gonna feel so much better, but it sucks so much. Yeah. So that is basically my sort of workout regiment when I went through airsoft and running at the same time, and I can tell you, like, I felt great overall. Like, best time
Oh
of my
yeah.
life, right? Like mid 20s, early, well, mid 20s and then late 20s, basically. And yeah, it felt good. It felt like you feel good inside. When you're running out in the field, you know that you could take all that running because I've ran with heavy gear before. When you're going out to events, you know that you could carry that weight because you've trained with it before. And it's just a continuous cycle of improvements
Yep.
until, unfortunately, life kicks in. I haven't worked out, and then all of a sudden, I'm prone to ankle injuries, right? I just went airsofting, ankle injuries, and then bam, I have to do what they call rehabilitation now, which is another subject that we. It's different from working out, but
We
it's
don't really even need to touch it other than the
It's a
word.
very
It's like
yeah. We'll touch it later on, I guess, because
Yeah.
that's a deep one too.
yeah. So that's my
Yeah.
workout regiment,
yeah,
guys. I mean,
great. I'm
it
actually
works for
feeling
me.
that. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, it worked for me, and that time of my life, that's basically what I did, what my focus on, and what I knew I could do, and what I could achieve, and what goals I could set. So that's mine
That's
right
good.
there. Go
Okay,
ahead,
we're gonna
David.
check back in 15 weeks, okay? And we'll see where I'm
Ooh,
at.
okay.
Yeah, I'll check up on you.
Yeah. So right now, I don't exactly have like what you call like an arbitrary routine or regimented system. So my history with exercise always comes from like a background of competitions and goals. So the aims are always sort of different and varied. I never really focused on doing one specific type of competition. I like things with varied stuff, which is why I got into CrossFit. And I got a lot of funny stories actually out of that, essentially, because I started doing movements that I did when I was a kid as an adult, and it was a totally different experience. So I'll just start from the basis. So usually for me, my day to day is like maintenance most of the time. I do a fair amount of cardio, and I've actually increased it because of my job. But outside of that, like I genuinely dislike cardio. I find it very boring and redundant. The two ways that I always found it interesting was either to row, oddly enough, using a rowing machine, and I can row a 6K faster than I can run a 5K, which pisses me off right now. But the other side of that was cycling. Like I like speed. I like going fast. So funny enough, like riding on a bike and powering up the pedals basically to the point where you're just whizzing by things is really exhilarating. And then seeing the RPMs as well as like monitoring heart rate. So I'm very scientific. I can get super nerdy about it. For me, it's always about the data, and then essentially what the aim is. So I'm always recording everything. I did post like little like track bits here and there and like my rucks from time to time. And people go, "Oh man, that's awesome!" Like, if only you knew the back end of things, because I put it all down into a spreadsheet and I try to break down what my aims are essentially over time. And then for what I'm aiming for right now is a big goal of mine about a year ago, before the just before the pandemic kicked off, was to go to the tactical games in the States. So I've done CrossFit competitions on and off for like, I think I've done it for 8 years since I started CrossFit. The first 4 years I was working up to it. But my buddy down in the States goes, "Hey, listen, I know you like guns and army stuff, and I know you like CrossFit, but what if I told you there's a competition that has both?" And I was like, "There's no such thing, man." And he's like, "Go check out the tactical game." So
Yeah.
I looked it up on my phone and I was like, "Oh, this is real. This is legit." So they run with plate carriers, they shoot with real rifles and carbines, and you essentially do some CrossFit movements, or you're carrying weights and things of that nature. And I was like, man, this is like right up my alley. So it caught my interest and piqued me. So that's kind of where I would like to work up to it. So I'm getting my PAL as a result, and I'm going to try and find a way to essentially be able to compete once COVID is over and go down there. But before that, man, like my CrossFit stuff, there was always it was 6 month cycles. So it was a 6 month workup basically to a competition, and the competitions were always varied. I think my favorite one was also the hardest one I ever experienced, which involved, oddly enough, swimming. And when you find out as an adult, swimming for the first time, when you weigh about 200 pounds and most of the meat is on your legs, and your legs just keep dragging down because you don't know how to keep them up anymore. And you're watching like these sleek little swimmers go by in the pool. You're like, what is this? Right.
With their
So
big
The
arms.
guys are not
yeah.
working. Yeah.
No, like I got like big gull wing arms and like giant legs. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And I start putting more force into it to try and push in the water. And it only ends up being harder. My coach ends up like laughing and chuckling on the other end. And she's like, "This is too funny to watch, but don't fight the water. Just go with it." I was like, "What do you mean don't fight the water? Like, you got to move this stuff." So I had a buddy of mine who I worked out with at the gym, who was an experienced swimmer. And he's like, "Listen, I'm going to work you up to a point where we can swim a 12K." And one of the goals, ironically, was to swim out from what is that, like Kitts Beach, out to a freighter that was kind of anchored close by on the Kitsilano side, because they're usually anchored within a close range. And I'm like, "There's no way we're gonna do that." He's like, "No, no, no, we'll get to the point where we can do that," and we did. So I ended up swimming out one day with him, like early on in the morning, mind you, with a wetsuit, because I hate how cold the ocean is here. And we got out to it. I remember touching the hull of the ship. I was like, "This is pretty cool." And it took me like 3 months to get to that point and the workup, and I had to swim 3 times a week, and I hated it. I really did. But then when I went to the competition, which involved swimming and like burpees at the end, and some kettlebell swings too, and then back in the pool and back and forth, and then there was a run. I think it was the run. The run was 8 kilometers afterwards, and it was pretty epic. It was a good workout. It ended up raining, and I think I came in sixth. Yeah, I was okay with the results, but I was like, man, I actually swam in a competition for the first time, and I didn't drown and black out, and two, my legs didn't touch the ground. Like, so for me, it's always been about going to peak performance to see what I'm capable of doing. And I think that's kind of where like my fitness regimes always kind of exist. It's like, this seems this seems dangerous, or this seems pretty crazy. Maybe I could probably do this. So it's always kind of where I've worked. Now, in terms of airsoft, because airsoft for me is, oddly enough, is kind of like a little bit of recovery and a little bit of fun, because the
It's
performance
rest.
end for me in airsoft is just, it's like not at the point where I need to sprint 200 meters to take something from someone. And I have done that a few times in an objective, which was kind of fun at like some sims and things like that, and I had a blast with it. But for me, it's what catches my interest more is how it applies basically on the tactical side, and being able to go longer or harder than other people. So, I mean, right now I got my, what is it, my stoner, and I run a box mag that weighs more than the stoner itself. And I weighed it, and it weighs, I think it weighs like 10.2 pounds. And oddly enough, with that and the actual AEG itself, it's getting into the realm of like 25 pounds. And if anybody's ever tried to hold something in 25 pounds for a long period of time in a straight format, it's not very easy. But being able to do that and just kind of sit there, like motionless, and just hang out is kind of cool. You're just waiting for a target to pop up. So it's always the little things too, and like for workout routines in general, usually I work with dynamic movements, as I said before. So a lot of kettlebell swings, a lot of running. I'm doing a running thing right now to try and get my run time for 5K down. That's my current goal, down to about 20 minutes, which is my aim, and then I want to try and go sub 20, which is doable, but it's stupid in the sense of it's not something something that a lot of people want to do, especially because it's not comfortable. But yeah, I mean, it always comes back to the idea of always trying to hit a little margin goal, and then I'm not really super good at everything. I find I'm like balanced in between them, and I always find a moment where I want to take a moment to focus on one specific thing. I'll get better at that, and come back down to kind of like where I like to hang out in the little circle zone and look at something else and go, "That looks pretty cool. I guess I want to try that next." Yeah, and for me, like recovery is, oh my god, it's like a daily affair. I don't know. I mean, I oddly enough, most people don't know this. I've had a back injury before, so I am technically a chronic. I have a chronic back injury. So I injured my lower back when I was about 21 from a pretty bad fall bouldering, oddly enough, and I didn't break anything, but I managed to knock my pelvis out of position as well as like have two bulging discs. And then I found out I had a bunch of other existing injuries from years of speed skating and things like that. So I got all of that corrected, and it was an eye-opening experience for me at that age because I was in really good shape, but at the same time, I didn't really focus a lot on like movements and mobility. I always thought that was kind of like hooey stuff for old people. That was kind of the joke in my mind. And then going through it, it kind of opened up the realm for me. So I started doing yoga, and I haven't done it in a while because of COVID. But normally I used to do it at the gym, or I would go to a yoga facility, and I would join in with all these soccer moms, basically just being a dude, which is always a little bit funny sometimes and get weird looks. But I'd fall asleep on the floor. That was a big thing for me. Was good yoga session, very end, breathing exercise, fall asleep, go home, and I was like right out of it for the next day, and that was my recovery. At home, I do a lot of mobility, so I have I like to call it my little bag, like a duffel bag of toys. I always usually joke it's my bag of sex toys because it looks weird. You got like these little like rollers and everything, and like lacrosse balls, like a little fucking peanut, like a nut sack.
And
And
shit,
people always
yeah.
go, "What do you have all this stuff?" And it's literally just to like work out the kinks in the body and work on like fascial tissue between your skin and your muscle. There's a really good book if anybody's interested in this kind of stuff. It's called How to Be a Supple Leopard by Kelly Scarlett. It's a great book, and it's all about mobility and it's corrective movements. So it sounds very sort of stereotypical when someone says, "Listen, you've had a shoulder injury. You know your range of motion is going to stay at yay for the rest of your life."
Yeah.
And guess what? That doesn't have to be the case. There's a lot of like God, I forgot what they're called right now. But physiotherapists, pardon me, that are very sort of like new aged, and their idea isn't being able to maintain this. It's the idea of, okay, we're going to get past this, and we're going to get to the point where your mobility is good again. And mobility is huge for me. It's probably like one of the bigger aspects of things nowadays, and it is just being the dude that can kind of be the strongest in the room. And I've always been a little bit hypermobile since I was a kid, so I've been fortunate enough to have like good joint movement, but it's one of those things that you have to kind of balance and maintain because as you get stronger and stiffer, you become less mobile, and isolated movements as well are not great for that. So dynamic movements are really good. I like kettlebell swings and things of that nature. And I know I'm kind of on a rant right now, but it's a really interesting topic for me to dive into and kind of nerd out on because it's something I do, and it's passive for me. And then when we come into the next part, which is diet, this is kind of a big one. Um, my professional background in the civvy side is being a chef. So for me,
You're
dietary means was pretty easy because I could cook and I could cook well. The other part too was understanding food really gave me sort of an edge on it. And then I got a little bit of nutrition aspects, and I've talked to some nutritionists, but I honestly like I could give less of a shit about macros because for me it's like I'm gonna put in a lot of food because I'm gonna put out a lot of energy, and I got a fast metabolism, and I don't sleep much. I only need about 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night, and I can function perfectly fine. I sleep more than that, and I'm kind of like dazed and out of it. but I can sleep 3 and I'll function. But for me, the caveat was, okay, I don't need to sleep as much. I got to eat a shitload more because my body is always demanding more energy from me, or else I get sleepy throughout the day and I take like random cat naps here and there. I still like them, but I try to go through the whole day and then just sleep the night, get up and then do the same thing over and over. So I got into a really good routine with that kind of stuff. And like food for me is a big one. Like, man, like boy, when you said like reward yourself after you're done, one competition I did, I had to row 6K, and it's a bunch of tall dudes, and there's like me, little stubby 5'8" me, and I'm like, shit. Well, I'm gonna row even harder the whole time. And I remember rowing through this competition, and all I could think about, and I can still remember this to this day, was chicken and waffles
Oh,
the
hell
whole
yeah.
time.
You're like,
But
I'm
here's the
gonna get
sad,
so many chicken waffles.
yeah, I'm literally thinking to myself, I'm going, I am gonna get the biggest, juiciest chicken waffles with honey just drolled all over top of that with a little bit of Tabasco. And the worst part was, I couldn't find anywhere to get it.
Oh, you set yourself
No.
up.
Yeah, so I ended up going to KFC and I picked up one of those stupid buckets of chicken, like the big ones,
Yeah.
and I
And
bought
then you went
Eggo waffles and
Hell
threw them in the
yeah.
yeah.
microwave in
Hell
my
yeah.
hotel room, put it
Hey,
on
you did it
top, and
by
just drizzled
yourself.
honey and sat there in front of the TV. I remember doing that after,
Dude, you did
and
it.
like,
You
oh, it
did
was
it. You
good,
did it
man.
though. You did it.
Yeah, I did that too after like taking a nice cold shower, and I just sat there
That
naked
sounds
eating it. It was
magical.
funny. Dude, it was a good moment, but it was one of those moments like, wow, I don't have many of these, but they're really weird. It's the
Oh,
same
so
thing when
good.
I've gone through like periods of training in my life and I get fixated on like a meal for some reason. So like even right now I can't get it on my head, but I keep thinking about brisket. It's been like 3 weeks straight of just thinking about brisket. So I'm pretty sure at the end of this week I'm gonna go buy a brisket and I'm gonna make brisket for myself and my
Yeah.
fiance. But it's a good thing to have. And then when you're done a competition, even if you lose and you don't come in the position you want to, or something happens, right? Having
Mhm.
having the good wherewithal to have the discipline to say, okay, this is what I'm going to improve on. It's easy to beat yourself up, and a lot of people do that. I used to do it for a period of time. It doesn't really help you. It's better to go, okay, I'm going to improve on this. But hey, look, I managed to get through this. I did pretty
Mhm.
well at this at the end of the day. And I'd say, like, if you go into competition mode, or even if you're going to like a milsim for airsoft and you want to do really well and you don't win the game, go there because you want to go there for yourself on your end of things for performance, and then hit those margins that like the little goals, not just the big one, the little ones that are more important, I would say. And you'll feel that much better even if you don't achieve the highest level that you can, because peak performance and being the number one, it's really hard to stay up there. But if you can do well at something and you come back from it, you're not broken and you feel good about it, yeah, it's a great feeling. And that's something like I'm a huge caveat to, and that kind of stuff. And man, I could run on for days about this stuff.
That's why we
Yeah,
called you up for this stuff, dude.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But in terms of like correlation, I guess more back on topic and correlation for airsoft. So I think for the average airsofter, most of the goals are always going to be aimed towards milsim. And you could say speed QB2 nowadays, like being going to those comps and being the fast speedy boy that can go between buildings really quick. But your fitness should kind of entail what your end game is with the goal that you're aiming to achieve in airsoft. So if you're going for a milsim, think about things like endurance. That's a big one. Muscular endurance is another or one. Like the two differences between is endurance is how long you can go. Muscular endurance is how long you can go with weight and how long you can sustain something. So sitting in an uncomfortable position while holding your AEG or your weapon up basically to engage a target is a big one. And then other little things here and there, like being able to suck it up and survive a little bit if things are kind of shitty. It's always better when you're in better physical shape. You can kind of maintain that a little bit more. It's funny because back when I was on Legion, this is a good story, and maybe Scott will kill me for this one day, but um, I would always talk to the guys about doing fitness and like regimented routines because this is when I was personal training and doing chef work, and I wanted to help them out and build a routine. I had some guys jump on and others not so much. they'd always say, "Oh yeah, I don't have the physical side of things, but I have the mental fortitude to kind of push through it." I'm like, great. You can have the mental aspect, but if you don't have the physical aspect, guess what's going to give out first? Your body, and then what goes after that? Your mind. It's always sort of like a domino effect. You can have
Yeah.
one without the other. The only difference is if you have the physical capacity, but the mental capacity not so much, you can still overcome it. Your mental capacity will bounce back a lot faster, especially if you have good people around you. But if your physical capacity isn't there, it just tanks, man. And we went on a hike. We went on a hike up to just do the Chief, like the first peak. And I remember the first 200 meters, those stupid stairs that everyone hates.
Yep.
Yeah, I hit them too.
Yeah.
We got up to the top, and he was already of those stairs, and he was puking his guts out and like wheezing for air, right? And I remember looking back, and I was like, "So you doing okay there, Scott?" And he's like, "I hate this so much." I'm like, "I know, man, but we should probably do this a little bit more for
You
yourself,
don't
you know?"
you can't do it just once. You gotta train.
No, you got to do it again and
Yeah.
Yeah,
again.
exactly.
Yeah. And it's goofy because as much as I enjoy the science and all the breakdowns, I at the end of the day, I really don't like exercising that much. My favorite part is being done and then
Yeah.
like sitting down and just feeling good from the endorphins and going, "Oh, that's thank God I don't have to do that again." Like
Mhm.
that's the first thing that goes through my head.
So
But no,
we're
it's good stuff.
so we're jumping into that question. I guess this is the last question. Is the
Hmm.
group PT for airsoft teams working out together? I understand that there are teams out there that work together as a team like in
Hmm.
the field. But
Mhm.
what about
Group
physical
fitness.
fitness? Is
Yeah.
that something that you think should be popularized? Because
I
there are
think
some
for
teams
oh
that do
man,
it, but
for
I don't see
airsoft
it
Mm,
for
as common
yeah.
because I only see a lot of shooting drills, which is
I think if
nomenclature
you're
at best.
yeah, I think if you're serious about the game, so to speak, you want to get after it is a great way to put it. I like I'll segue into our neighbors down south, but the Americans and some of their teams are a little bit better at this than we are. Some of their teams are tightly knit enough that they actually do, excuse me, oriented training towards airsoft, whether it be rappelling or running or rucking or understanding like good teamwork movement. They'll actually exercise together too. I think that's essential, especially if you want to go down to a sim. It's a big deal if at least it was for me, and I'm speaking from my own experience here. When I was the guy in the team that was in really good damn shape, and I could like haul ass and get to point A and point B, while the rest of the guys are hussing air
behind
behind me
you.
and
Yeah,
wheezing,
exactly.
I would look behind them like, what the fuck? Like, it's one of those moments where you realize that the importance of supporting each other is pretty big, but the best way to do that is through the capacity of training together too. And exercise is definitely a way to do it. You can also make it interesting, you know. You can a great way to do it, and like it's funny. You can watch for those of you guys out there who are kind of curious to this type of thing. If you want to do it at the field, take a look at in range TV and some of the stuff that they do from time to time when they do their competition stuff. There's a lot of good inspiration around that in terms of being able to adapt um, boring stuff that you do at a gym and bring it to a field and make it dynamic. So you can
Exactly.
basically run a target and carry kettlebells and just gas yourself and see what you can do when you're tired. It's a good thing to do, and I think a lot of people kind of need to find a way to balance it out. So yeah, group fitness and airsoft, I think it should be advocated a hell of a lot more. It always confuses me as to why that hasn't sort of hit a peak point, but there are guys that are starting to kind of catch on to that drift now, and I think for a
Mhm.
lot of the younger generation that isn't really exposed to a lot of sports, it definitely piques their curiosity because it makes it into a sport for them, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
The
yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, point. My only point on that is like I agree with you. I am kind of shocked that it hasn't taken a bigger stage on the fact that like team workouts and everything like that. And so my point being on that, because I have tried to do
Hmm.
that. I have been an advocate for person. I understand that you were a couple, like you've done something similar of the sort
Yeah.
too, just you try and have a group of, and so again, why have the three of us found ourselves being the people that go and do things, right? Is the hardest thing is finding like-minded people,
Yeah.
right? Finding
Yeah.
people who have the same level of aspiration and or motivation, right? Because like you said, at the end of the day, you might not have the physical fortitude to do it, but if you have the mental fortitude to be able to keep up, yes, right? But you need to be able to work on both of those factors
Yeah.
because like you're saying, if you know what, you're physically strong, but you don't really feel like doing it, then you're not going to go. And guess what? Your physical strength is
It's
going to
also
Mhm.
diminish.
people's schedules, people's,
Yeah.
There's so many things, right?
life,
So many things that play. Yeah.
and
Life happens.
Well,
it's just a lot of things, It's because this
well,
is
I'll
just a
hit this.
hobby.
I'm gonna hit that one over the head though. If your excuse is you can't get your fitness in because life in general, you're kind of cheating yourself a little bit there because
100%. You need to
you can
reorganize.
build it into your life. And I think, I mean, I'm talking from my experience too, from working with people too. A lot of people will always have this idea in the back of their mind that exercise is kind of a nuanced thing they don't really need to do, and it's kind of something that you can do when you want to. It's like, sure, but if you prioritize it, believe me, it's going to make it a lot easier. You'll hit those goals and those gains. But on top of that, you'll reap the benefits of it, especially
So that's
if you
yeah.
want to get something out of it. It's just like anything in life. What you put in is what you get out of it. If you want to half ass it, basically, it's not going to be. It's you're not going to hit those goals to the same degree. And then if you want to put all the effort in, yeah, the effort will pay off in due time, but you got to suffer, and you got to go through that hardship. I think the rewarding part really is when you achieve those aims and you come back from it, you're like, oh my god, I managed to do this, and that feeling, like I've always said this to people too when I see people with smiles on their faces, I'm like, hold on to that feeling. Remember that feeling. Don't remember the work to it and how shitty it was, because that will get soft and it'll kind of fade off. But like with that feeling when you're done, or when you've hit that goal, it's like, yes, just like take some pride, just dig in with it. It's perfectly okay. It's a good thing too. And more people need that because we don't have enough of that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's also a feel good when you have a group that goes in, train together, work
Hmm.
together, and then having to go at that special mil sim or game day and work together
Hmm.
and knowing your limits between both of you or even four of you as a team, right? Feels so much
Exactly.
Yeah,
better.
you
It's
support each other
so
too.
much
Yeah.
achievable, and as a team, it's even better. You did it as a team.
Well, and the more you can do really too, right? Because like
Hmm.
obviously like everybody is different, right? Like we go off of that. But people's strengths and weaknesses kind of complement each other, and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
especially when you put themselves into a team atmosphere,
Yeah. When you have
like
good
they're
cohesion.
exactly when it comes down to unit cohesion and everything like that is what's going to make the that's what's gonna elevate the gameplay to, like, that next level,
Hmm.
and especially, like, if you're talking about, like, working out as a team and everything, that's already bringing a level and sense of camaraderie between, like, a group of
Yeah.
more than just friends, right? Like
Well, I always love the fact that when you see teams at the field, they'll work together in like little training things here and there on the side with weapons handling, for example, or general movements. Sometimes even tactics. I'm like, that's awesome,
mhm,
but do the physical side outside of that. Suffer
100%.
together and make some like even if you don't have like a lot of people, I understand that like finding a personal trainer is kind of difficult and can be expensive too, especially if you want to go up to someone and go, hey, listen, I want to be really good at shooting people in a fictitious world, in a game basically, with plastic BBs. They'll give you a strange look for sure, and maybe some other stuff, but look up workout routines that would apply to it in an essence, and then see what
100%.
you can do and how you can adapt it, or if you have someone with the knowledge, poke them a little bit and go, hey, can you poke us a little bit and make us a little bit faster, or even just go for a run or a hike together. That's always a
Yep.
good, sort of cohesion to do. And then you don't need to, what is it, you're only as fast as the slowest member of your team.
Yep.
So
Yep.
the thing
I was
is,
about to
working
mention that.
together and, yeah, and understanding your strengths and weaknesses will always help each other out, but it really builds that camaraderie. That this there's always kind of the nuanced joke, basically, whenever you watch movies with like boot camp training and stuff, with like the military and stuff, and people always go, oh man, and that always looks funny and stuff. It's like, yes, but that's fundamental team building right there, when they're
Yep.
all doing the same thing and suffering together with it. It's a
Yeah.
huge part of what brings people closer together and causes them to actually work more cohesively, you know, and team building is a huge element of it, and the physical component, yeah, I would say is like one of the bigger factors besides the mental aspect. Yeah.
Well,
Mm,
especially that last one, right? Like that's such a huge level of like respect, know, when it
Hmm.
comes down to one of those things, when it's when it's one of those like attritional level events, where it's like,
Oh yeah.
okay, like, not everyone's gonna make it through this, but like you made it through this and I made it through this. I know what it took, you know what it took, and we're both here. Like that's such a huge like you
Hmm.
could hate a person, like absolutely hate them for their moral fiber or whatsoever. But the fact that they were able to suffer through that with you, that gives you that little bit of
Yeah.
respect through the door, where it's like, okay, you know what? Like everything else, I hate you, but
Brings the bond.
we're
It
gonna
brings the bond in too, you know.
yeah.
yeah, 100%.
So you
And
It's a
that's where
good
some
thing.
of the best stories come from.
so what you're meaning to tell me is airsoft should stop being an individual sport and become a team sport.
I think airsoft
Okay,
always
so
was
that's
an
the thing
individual.
though. That's
I'm
the thing
kidding.
though, right? Because like, okay, so I agree with you on that. Is I would love to see a lot more like, like team building things and everything like that. Again, I've been an advocate for that.
Hmm.
I continue to be an advocate for that. But I don't knock the solo stuff because again,
Yeah.
there's a lot of times. So this is just like an internet quote I saw, and it's always stuck with me my whole life. Is just, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
That's a great way
some
to put it.
yeah, so sometimes, you know, if you need to go for that long distance, yeah, you need the help.
Hmm.
You need to have a team there for you. But sometimes when you just need to kind of go and get it done and everything like that, you yourself and you're the person that you rely
Hmm.
on, and you're also the person who makes the mistakes. So you're like, I feel like when it comes to the solo thing, I put a lot more pressure on myself when it comes to me like doing something solo and everything like that.
Yeah.
Like I always like say to myself before I like, and I actually talk to myself like, okay, you're gonna run 10K, and then you're gonna go and do like 40 pull-ups, and then you're gonna go and do 40 sit-ups, and like this is me like saying this to myself and affirming. It's like, yeah, no, this is like, you're not allowed to walk away from this, like, like.
Dude, I get weird looks when I'm running and I'm yelling at myself, and I yell, "Don't be a
Come on, we
bitch!
can do it.
Don't be a
Yeah.
bitch! Keep going! Keep going! You will not stop!" I
And I
only do
stopped.
it when I'm, yeah.
And it's gone. And it's gone. For
Been
me,
there,
the
done that.
weirdest thing is probably running in my plate carrier, just because, like, I live in like a residential neighborhood and stuff like that. So when I go around the big park, I do get, or you know what? I mean, I guess a lot of the people are the same people that I've been running by for almost a year now and
Hmm.
everything. So a lot of these people are actually like not, they don't even care, don't even notice, right? When I'm at the track, at the athletic track that I go to on the weekends in the morning, there I actually get a lot more acceptance than like weird
Yeah.
looks. People are like,
Just
right
put
on, man.
just
Like,
put a
yeah.
CrossFit patch on it. You're good to go.
That
Yeah.
that would explain
I wouldn't.
everything, right?
Honestly, I wouldn't say it's
5'11"
out of the
CrossFit.
realm. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's out of the realm of nuanced thing anymore because
No, I've
plate
seen
carriers have
other
been around in
people.
CrossFit for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
they're
see a lot
they're
of people
better
with
than
like
weighted vests.
civilian. Yeah, I that's what I mean. I've seen a lot of like civilian styled or
Hmm.
marketed like yeah, weight vests or something, and they just look so awkward. Where it's like,
Oh, you know
dude,
what the
I've
thing
got
is?
my
They're not.
Mayflower rig, and I've got two plates in there. They're so perfectly balanced on me that like I never have a problem. Like honestly, like
Yeah, well, the weighted vests that you get for like in the civvy world for fitness are not designed very well, so they don't really, they don't have the proper
I think
support,
it's
so
purely
they
for
bounce.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's they're really good if you're doing isolated pull-ups and things like that, or like push-ups or like slower style movements. But if you're doing running or sprints, and
Mhm.
I'll say this much, sprinting in a plate carrier, I hate it with a passion.
Oh, I do
Not
too.
only is it
100%.
restricting to your breathing, but like
So bad,
the
so
plate
heavy.
wants
You're
to
like,
jump. Yeah. And then all of a
it's
sudden you
like
have all this
smacking you.
oh dude, I get all this forward momentum and I'm like, whoa, I'm going a lot faster than I
Oh,
expected to. I need to kind of take a little bit
well,
slower on the
you
slow
need
down.
to be smarter with your movements. Exactly. You
Yeah.
can't go 100% on a tilt. Like whenever Like, so for me, like I've added in like 20-meter rushes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I'll kind of like pair those up with suicides. So again, I do a lot of my stuff where I'll do like a weighted day and then an unweighted day. Like for me
Mm-hmm.
wearing my vest. So I will go do all 10K or 15K with my vest on, and then I will continue and I will go do all the exercises
Yeah.
with my vest on.
Well,
And
you get used to it after a while,
I
and then
have, yeah, exactly. Now it's
once
been
your
like I
muscle
need to get more.
yeah, once your muscle tissue is basically used to being under the duress of the load, it's not as
Hmm.
bad, you know.
Nope.
And then so long
Nope.
as your movements, I would say, and like your technique and form is good, you're fine. You know,
Exactly.
it's
That's what's going to
I
carry you.
yeah, I don't like running. I don't like doing anything with weight on if I don't have to, especially with running
Hmm.
and cardio. It just
Hmm.
it's one of those compounding factors. But then when you take it off, and all of a sudden it's like featherweight, you're like, oh,
Yep.
you know, I'm light on my toes, you know,
Yep.
that type of thing, and you kind of move a little bit quicker. Especially considering the pandemic is like limited how much stuff I can do because normally I would go to the gym and I'd be doing like Olympic lifting or
Yep.
squat cycles in between and other things just to keep
Mhm.
the booty going. Now it's all kettlebell stuff to keep the booty going.
Dude, I know, man. I can't like you see like so I have weights at my house. I don't have anywhere close to enough weight. Okay? I would be pulling like 415 on a deadlift or
Yeah,
something
you got to
like
get
that. As
innovative.
like oh my god, man. I'm grabbing paint cans. I'm grabbing like it's like nope, not enough, man. You went up like 2.5 pounds. Like that's it. Like you
Yeah,
cannot get above two what is it? I think I have 225. That's all I have at my house. And it's like that's a great workout weight. Like I love it. But like, come on, man. I miss my like 375, 380, like like deadlift pull,
Deadlifts, yeah.
oh dude, I miss being able to snatch 280 pounds over my head.
Yeah.
That was a good feeling.
Mhm. Yeah, snatches, clean and jerks. Those are my I definitely dig those. Those are
All
great.
right. Well, I think we've gone through enough here from our topics that we have. Is there
I
any
think
finals?
everybody is dead.
Yeah. I think we're all worked out now.
Yeah.
Time to do our stretches. Anything else you guys want to
Yeah.
add to this topic here for fitness and airsoft?
Yeah. So
Mm,
if you're gonna start fitness for airsoft, start slow. Don't be the guy to go balls to the wall right off the bat. You know, find your median and your balance, and then work your way into it. You know, work your way
Find
up.
your own routine.
Yeah.
mhm.
Don't just jump in like and go. I'm gonna go hard every single day because that wall is gonna come a lot faster than you expect, and it's not gonna be
Yeah.
fun to get away from. So if especially if you're not familiar with exercising by any means, you know, just work into it progressively. Take your
Mhm.
time. There's no need to rush, and eventually you'll get to a point where you can really start pushing the boundaries, and that's a pretty cool feeling. I'll say that much.
Mhm.
Hmm. And yeah, my best advice: just work towards a goal
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where you want to work something incrementally. Work on a goal. Work on
Hmm.
some sort of goal post that you have. Achieve it, and then move on to the next one.
Exactly.
Yeah, this I'll show you what my goals were basically when I started. Is this photo right here is basically
Mhm.
what I was trying to achieve the most, is trying to grab all the medals from like races that I've done, and that kept me going
Man.
so
Yeah,
much. You
right.
know,
It's basically like yeah.
Lululemon, Vancouver, Spartan races, BMO, Scotiabank. I have a lot of
Sunweb
Oh,
Spartan
and stuff like
races
that.
here. I love mud races, honestly.
Poi,
I'm
have you
thinking
done a
about
tough
trying to get
mudder?
into those.
Oh, dude, we got to do one.
I would do
Oh,
them, yeah.
we got to do a PFAT podcast. Tough mudder. We got to do a podcast. Wow, we're doing
Well,
the
we're
mudder
tough mud.
No, right after the mutter. We're just
No,
like covered in
right
dirt.
after the mudder
yeah.
while we're sitting in a hot tub after
See,
an ice
this
bath.
is what I want to segue.
Yes, this is an objective.
This is what I want to segue into. Is like if you make this an objective with your team, it becomes a goalpost for you guys because this is
Well, we got a pretty good team
something.
here.
Yeah, you got something to like laser focus into
Yeah.
something, and you're like, okay, this is what we got to do, guys. But to get there, this is our steps, right? You don't just
Yeah.
like
Oh, buddy.
jump to the end, right? So if your team is trying to do something, right, think of a
Mhm.
goal, right? That's
Yeah,
what I always think.
100%.
There's no way to cheat the real life XP that it takes to hit those objectives to level up. You can't
Exactly.
level up and cheat it.
So there's no Chinese farmer that I could pay to do.
No.
All right. I think that is it. We should be good to go here. I don't. It's getting late here as well. I'm sure Mac's getting sleepy.
I am pretty dead, I won't lie,
Yeah.
but you know what? I'm pretty sure we got a pretty busy weekend coming up,
Yep.
so I'll be ready. I will be ready.
All right. David, you're good to go. Where can they find you
Absolutely.
again?
You can find me at Schoolboy Airsoft on Instagram and Schoolboy Airsoft on Facebook.
Yep, Schoolboy Airsoft, guys. Also, aren't you starting to do tech work? I believe.
Yes, I'm opening up to people who would like some tech work done only in Canada. My recommendation is you message me and talk to me about it beforehand. Don't just show up and tell me, "Hey, take this, fix my crap." I'm not going to do that.
Hey,
I'm
what? You
also
don't want to make this
interested.
work?
No, this is not real work for me. This is something I would like to do on the side to help other people out. And the other one that I'd like to push a little bit more is if you really want something pre-upgraded built out of the box and you buy something new, just come talk to me and I can help you out pretty quick.
All right. Okay, well, that is another segment of Panther Airsoft Folding Table Talk. This is a deep dive, literally a deep dive into airsoft fitness. I know Mac's been dying to do this episode for a while, but thank you again, Mac, for...
Well, I'm just really happy that we're able to kind of finally address, because it's not so much that one or the other are tied to each other directly, right? Because again, look, guys, there's people from all over different kinds of backgrounds, like you've heard,
And body types.
And body types and play styles, right? Because guess what? If you
Mhm.
like being the guy who sits out there with the sniper rifles, I'm sorry, guys, that's not who I am. So that's not what I would ever gear myself towards. But again, I'm sure that there are some physically demanding parts when it comes to playing as a sniper, that are,
Pulling the
something that
bolt.
you could, that you can work on or something like that. If anyone wants to ask House Gamers, you let them know in the comments or something. I don't know.
Yep.
That's about it. All I want, guys, is people to work on their fitness, because that's my main thing at the end of the day. Is that basically, if you're working to better yourself physically, then then you yourself are going to be a better person. So yeah, that's just how I feel about it.
All right. Well, that's been another episode. Hoy here, Mac, and David. We'll see you guys
And
on the
Poi
next
is
episode.
frozen.
Oh no.
Oh no,
Yeah.
am I frozen? Oh no, I'm not frozen.
Oh, there we go.
Not
He's
in
back.
my video.
Oh no,
I
it's
was like, wait, when does this happen?
All right, we're closing it off here. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Goodbye.
Okay. See
Take
ya.
care, everyone.